Hey everyone, welcome. Get comfortable, and let's get into tonight's Reddit stories. Imagine spending 5 years paying most of the rent, food, and trips because your partner keeps saying, "I can't afford it." And then, right before you're about to buy a house together, you find out she's been sitting on $50,000 the entire time. Would you feel betrayed? Or would you still trust her enough to buy a home together? My partner kept secret how much money she has in savings and let me pay for most things. I've been with my partner for almost 5 years now. I'm a 30-year-old guy, she's 28. That whole time, I've always had a full-time job making pretty average money, and she's been studying, working part-time, and earning a lot less. I've never really had much in savings, and we didn't really talk in detail about how much either of us had put away until maybe about a year ago. During this whole period, she's always said she couldn't afford things, and since we moved out together 3 years ago, I've been paying a bigger share of the rent, probably around 70%. I've never wanted money to get in the way of living our lives, and I'll admit I could probably be better at saving. I was always happy to pay more with the idea that once she finished studying and started working full-time, we'd start splitting things evenly. Then my dad passed away unexpectedly, and he left me $500,000. I got that about 6 months ago. That kind of money is obviously life-changing for me. I'd probably never had more than $10,000 in savings before that. We started the process of buying a house, and I was happy to put most of that inheritance into the deposit and pay a larger portion of the mortgage until she started working full-time, which is still about 2 years away. Right before we were about to submit the application, she told me she actually had $50,000 in savings and asked if we should mention that in the application. She seemed a bit embarrassed to bring it up. I get not mentioning something like that when we first started dating, and I don't even care about the exact amount, but she has actively said, "I can't afford this," and let me pay for things countless times. I asked her why she left it so late to bring it up, said we should probably use some of it for the house, and asked how long she'd had it. Basically, she'd had it the whole time. It was savings she'd built up since she started working as a teenager. I'm annoyed for a few reasons. She was going to let me put most of my money into the house without really helping, and for years, I've been paying a bigger share of everything: rent, food, bills, overseas holidays, entertainment. While she had way more money saved than I ever did. I was earning more, but that meant I wasn't saving much, if anything. She also wasn't saving much during our relationship. Most of her money was from before we met. I never wanted money to come between me and anyone, especially my partner. But I feel really hurt, lied to, and taken advantage of. She's normally great, and I love her, but she's not always the best decision maker, and I've caught her in little lies before. Those never bothered me much because they were insignificant. Most of the time, I'd just laugh it off and say, "Why would you lie about that?" But now we've hit a big life thing, and this feels like a proper lie, and it has me worried. I'm really struggling to move past it, and the relationship feels tainted now. I'm not sure I can get over it, even though everything else in the relationship is great. And it's really not a good atmosphere to be trying to buy a house in. Has anyone else had a similar experience? Did you end up splitting, or how did you rebuild trust? Too long didn't read. My girlfriend kept a large savings balance secret and let me pay for most things for years, even though I had very little savings. She only brought it up when we were about to apply for a mortgage and was about to let me pay the whole deposit with money I inherited from my dad when he passed. Edit. Thanks to everyone who gave some insight. This has helped me understand how I'm feeling and get some fresh perspective that's been super helpful. Just to clear some things up, We live in Australia and are therefore classified as a de facto relationship, so legally and financially it's similar to being married anyway. We're both not interested in marriage, but before this, we were 100% committed to each other for life and were happy and stable. We also come from very different family situations. I've been working since I was 15 too, but I have less in savings because I needed to move out and started paying rent when I was going to uni, and I've worked full-time since I finished my degree. I've had to scrap a bit to get by and hadn't received money from my parents or anyone until my dad passed. Saving a significant amount of money was definitely a luxury I haven't really been able to manage until recently. My plan was to do enough to get myself through uni, get a good job, and then start saving, which I'm lucky enough to be able to do now. She lived with her parents until we moved in together, so she was able to save a lot more money before she moved out. Someone mentioned that her saving this money is a massive green flag, and I completely agree. She's definitely more conscious about keeping a safety net, and that's a good thing. To clarify, I never expected her to drain her savings. But she wanted to move out just as much as I did, and I think she could have contributed some of this money so that I could save a bit myself, knowing that once she finished her degree, she'd be able to save more. She also changed the degree she was studying after 2 years of her first degree, which has prolonged her studies, and she was partly able to do that because I've been in a position to support her. I think she should have been more upfront that she had some money, at least after we moved out when I didn't have much. And in hindsight, I could have communicated better too. I think our different financial histories have played into this issue. She's going to be more cautious about spending savings, whereas I used what I would have saved just to get by. A lot of people asked whether she asked me to pay more versus me offering. As I said in another comment, it depends. It was a mix. We've always rented small one-bedroom apartments, the cheapest we could find, but property is wildly expensive here. She said she couldn't afford to pay 50%, so she asked if I could pay more. For other non-essentials, there were definitely times I offered to pay, and I'm okay with that, although I still feel a little misled. We should have communicated better with each other, and I definitely made assumptions I shouldn't have. But I don't think I was ever hiding anything, and she hasn't said that I was. And after we've talked about this, it's become clear that if I had asked her directly what her situation was, she still wouldn't have told me about the money. I'm glad she has emergency savings. Anyone should be able to be financially independent from their partner. But $50,000 a few years ago to me was a crazy amount of money. Anyway, this has been a big lesson. House hunting is on pause for now, and we need to work on ourselves and our communication. The biggest issue for me has always been the trust I feel has been broken, and the worry that maybe I've ignored smaller issues in the past. If we stay together, we'll need to formalize our financial situation. Clear rules, potentially a cohabitation agreement, and so on. And if not, I'll probably buy a smaller place by myself. That's a lot of words, but if you've read this far and offered advice, I appreciate you. The top comments all slam the brakes on the house purchase. People are saying, pause the mortgage, sit down, and have a very serious, very detailed talk about finances, expectations, and transparency before you make any big commitments. One commenter asks a key question. Has she ever actually offered to chip in more? Or has it always been you stepping up while she says she can't afford it? Because that difference really matters in how people see this. Another highly upvoted comment is blunt. Do not buy a house with a boyfriend or girlfriend. Several people echo that sentiment, pointing out that if you're putting your inheritance into the property, you should only put the house in your name. Otherwise, in a breakup, you could effectively be handing over half your dad's legacy. Overall, the advice is, stop the house hunt for now. Protect your inheritance legally, and only move forward with clear agreements in place, if you even decide to move forward together at all. What do you think about this situation? Is keeping a big savings account secret just smart self-protection? Or did she cross a line by saying she couldn't afford things while he covered most of their life together? And if you were in his shoes, would you still buy a house with her or keep the property in your name only? Or walk away entirely? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.